Hey.
Well, no. I've been missing that. Boy.
Hey, son, I gotta tell you.
Charles never thought he'd be on this side of the table, broke, alone, and asking his own son for help. But when life humbles you, it doesn't knock, it kicks the door in. Asterisk Charles Flannery used to be the man of the house back when things were simple. He worked hard, played his guitar in church, and expected his family to follow his lead. He raised his sons to stay away from the streets, especially Terry and Meech, who were already getting too deep into the game. He didn't understand. Their choices didn't respect them either. He looked at Terry like a lost cause, a boy chasing fast money, blinded by the street life, asterisk, but all that pride Charles carried. It didn't stop his own life from falling apart, asterisk first, the affair, that one night of weakness, stepping out on Lucille, didn't just break his marriage, it broke the foundation of the family. Lucille, the rock of their home, kicked him out without hesitation. And she had every reason to. Charles went from the respected father figure to a man sleeping on couches, looking for work, trying to hold on to some piece of the life he destroyed. Asterisk, he tried to find steady work. At first, he thought it would be simple. A man like him, experienced, proud, clean-cut, but job after job turned him away. Maybe it was the economy, maybe it was karma. Either way, Charles was slipping. Asterisk, and here's the truth. A man like Charles doesn't ask for help easily, especially not from his own son, the one he looked down on for years. But when the bills pile up and there's no one left to call, the pride starts to fade. And that's where we find him now. Asterisk, it's the 7th episode of season 4, and Charles has reached his breaking point. Asterisk, he's not the man he used to be. And now, he's got to do the one thing he never imagined, walk into Terry's world and ask for a hand, not as a father, not as a leader, but as a man who has nothing left to lose. Asterisk to Charles, it feels like failure. Asterisk, but to Terry, this could be the start of something none of them saw coming. Asterisk, Charles didn't call. He didn't text. He just showed up. Asterisk, middle of the day, no warning. No plan. Asterisk, Terry was in the back of the shop, going over numbers with Boom. Business had been growing, not just in the streets, but the legit front too. Terry was building something solid, something his father never believed in. So when he looked up and saw Charles standing in the doorway, it took him a second to process. Asterisk, the silence hit first. Asterisk, no hey, son. Asterisk, no how you doing. Asterisk, just. That heavy kind of silence that only comes when two people have too much history between them. Asterisk, Charles looked out of place. His clothes were worn, his face tired, but not just from lack of sleep. It was that kind of tired that comes from carrying too much regret for too long. He looked like a man who'd been through hell but still didn't want to admit it. Asterisk, Terry stood up slowly. He didn't smile, he didn't move close. Just waited. Asterisk, finally, Charles spoke. Asterisk, I need a job. Asterisk, 4 words. No excuses, no small talk. Just truth. Asterisk, Terry leaned back, arms crossed, like he was trying to figure out if this was real. This was the same man who used to say, you keep living fast, you'll die faster. The same man who once told him he was ashamed of the choices he made. Asterisk, now here he was, asking to be part of that world. Asterisk, there was a moment, just a second, where Terry could have said no. He could have thrown everything back in Charles' face, the judgment, the disrespect, the years of being treated like the black sheep. But he didn't. Asterisk, because despite everything, this was still his father. Asterisk, and Terry, he wasn't just a kid with something to prove anymore. He was a man now, one who understood what it meant to be responsible, not just for money, for people. Asterisk, so he looked Charles in the eye and asked, you sure you ready for this? Asterisk, Charles didn't nod, didn't blink, just said, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. Asterisk, it wasn't an apology. It wasn't a confession. But it was something. Asterisk, Terry gave a slow nod, then motioned to the back office. Come talk with me. Let's figure this out. Asterisk, and just like that. The roles had reversed. Asterisk, the father who once held the keys to the family's future now sat across from his son, waiting for direction. Asterisk, it wasn't just a conversation. It was a shift. Asterisk, the kind that changes everything. Asterisk, Terry closed the office door behind them. The room felt small now, not because of the space, but because of the moment. It was strange seeing Charles sit in that chair. The same man who used to sit at the head of their dinner table, making decisions, preaching discipline, handing out rules like gospel, now he looked unsure. Still holding on to pride, but with nothing left to stand on. Asterisk, Terry didn't speak right away. He sat across from Charles, looking at him, not like a son, like a man measuring another man. Asterisk, he thought about all the years his father made him feel small, like his choices didn't count, like he was just wasting potential. He remembered the lectures, the way Charles used to talk about doing things the right way, even when that so-called right way kept them broke and begging the system. Asterisk, and yet. This wasn't about revenge. Terry had already won that battle. He didn't need to rub anything in. What he needed was clarity, to understand what his father really wanted. Asterisk, you know what we do here, right? Terry asked, voice low. Asterisk, Charles nodded. I ain't blind. Asterisk, Terry raised an eyebrow. And you good with that? Asterisk, there was a pause, a deep one. You could feel the weight of it in the air. Charles shifted in his seat, eyes locked on the desk, like he was reading his own failure in the wood grain. Asterisk, I ain't here to judge anymore, he said. I need a chance. Asterisk, that hit Terry different. Coming from Charles, that was as close to a humble request as it got, not proud, not demanding, just real. Asterisk, Terry nodded slowly. All right, he said, but this ain't charity. Pops, you come in late, you're out. You mess up, you fix it, you clock in like everybody else. No special treatment. Asterisk, Charles nodded again. Understood. Asterisk, it wasn't a warm moment. No hugs, no tears. Just two men with a broken history trying to build something new on top of the rubble. Asterisk, but inside, Terry felt something shift. Asterisk, it wasn't just that he was helping his dad. It was that he finally saw him for what he really was. Not the perfect father, not the rock he once thought, just a man, flawed, wounded, human. Asterisk, and maybe, for the first time, that made him easier to forgive. Asterisk, Terry stood up and reached into the desk drawer, pulled out a basic time card. No name on it yet. Asterisk, he slid it across the table. Fill that out. You start Monday. Asterisk, Charles took the card without a word. Just a small nod, not victory, not relief. Just quiet acceptance. Asterisk, and for the first time in a long time, they both sat in that silence, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as family trying to fix what years of pride had torn apart. Asterisk, it was a beginning. Not a clean one, but a beginning still. Asterisk, Monday came. Asterisk, Charles showed up early. Not right on time, early, before the doors were even unlocked. He stood outside the shop with a folded-up lunch bag in one hand and silence in the other. No one told him to dress a certain way, but he wore his best, even if his best was a little worn out, a little faded. Just like him, Asterisk, Terry noticed, but didn't say much. Just nodded when he saw him, a nod between men, not of approval, but of acknowledgement. Asterisk, Charles got to work. No complaints, no shortcuts. He swept the floor, stocked shelves, helped where he could. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy, but it was honest. And for the first time in a long time, he wasn't running from the mess he'd made. He was showing up, one slow, painful step at a time. Asterisk, it wasn't about the job. Not really. Asterisk it was. About redemption. Asterisk C. When a man loses everything, respect, family, pride, he's left with two choices. Stay down or get back up and face what broke him. Charles chose the second. Asterisk and Terry. He kept his distance at first, watching not just to see if Charles could work, but to see if he had changed. Because forgiveness doesn't come easy, not when it's your own father who made you feel like nothing for chasing something more. Asterisk, but each day Charles kept showing up, no attitude, no ego, just effort. Asterisk and quietly, something started to shift between them. Not all at once, not with some dramatic moment. Just small things, a good job here, a shared lunch there. Eye contact that didn't feel like a battle. Asterisk, he still had a long way to go. Years of silence, years of judgment, years of I told you so buried under their skin. Asterisk, but in that shop, between brooms and receipts, two broken pieces were slowly trying to become whole again. Asterisk, and here's the truth no one wants to admit. Asterisk, sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the same ones who need you the most. Asterisk, not for money. Asterisk, not for status. Asterisk, but for a chance to show they're more than the worst thing they've done. Asterisk, Terry didn't just give Charles a job. Asterisk, he gave him a shot, a doorway. Asterisk, not to erase the past, but to walk into something better. Asterisk, and maybe, just maybe, that's what real family looks like. Asterisk, not perfect, not clean. Asterisk, just people trying to show up for each other. One day at a time. Asterisk, now let me ask you this. If your father walked back into your life like that, after all the pain, all the silence, would you give him a second chance? Asterisk, would you hand him a job or close the door? Asterisk, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Asterisk, and if this hit home for you, you already know what to do. Asterisk, follow for more raw stories from BMF and real-life lessons behind the drama.